Hey everybody, it's Angela Molson352 and I'm here with another layout process video. And in this layout, my focal point is going to be this chipboard wreath that I got from Saw Crafters. And this is really my inspiration for this layout, and it's the focal point, and it's kind of, what holds the whole layout together. And so I just decided to emboss it. I bought some of the Tim Holtz Distress embossing powders from Tuesday Morning, and I really like this peach color. I think they call it marigold and everything, but it's more of a flesh peach color, and it's really pretty. So I'm going to put 2 layers of embossing powder on this just to really cover it well. And that's what I like about the chipboard, is that you can really do some stuff to the chipboard. It's a little bit sturdier than if you were just to use a silhouette cut, something out of paper or cardstock. And so this I can emboss on twice or put ink or other things on, and it holds up really well. So here I'm just going to put another layer of embossing powder on here, and I really like this Tim Holtz embossing powder. I had never tried it before, so it's not as glossy as some of the other embossing powders I've used in the past. Maybe that's why they call it Distress or something, but it has a really nice texture to it. And I like also that I didn't worry about the edges of the chipboard. I like that they're a little darker because I'm going to have some black accents on this page. So I kind of like that it has that little bit darker edge, kind of like a shadow line around the edge of the chipboard. So I go ahead and get that heated up, and it's looking really pretty, and put all my embossing powder away there. And I'm just going to use a piece of white, I think it's mixed media paper. I go and get my mixed media pad and cut it down to 11 by 11 so that I can then mount it on a 12 by 12 piece of paper. And it's just a really white, smooth kind of cardstock, and it can take quite a bit of sprays and water without buckling too bad. So I'm going to use my gelatos on this. So I go and get a bigger craft sheet and my gelatos. And I have one of those little kits of gelatos that gives you the 3 colors, and it gives you this little bottle of gesso. So I just squeeze the bottle of gesso on there in a circular pattern. I'm using the little spatula that comes in the kit to just kind of move it around. Then I decide I want a little bit more texture in that gesso, because some of that texture will probably show. So I just kind of go and make some little marks and spread it out a little bit, but I'm still staying in a circular pattern and leaving the center uncovered, and the 4 corners are uncovered as well. And then I go ahead and I use my heat tool to dry up all the gesso. And so one of those little gelatos kits is pretty nice. It gives you the gesso, it gives you 3 colors of gelatos that go well together. And then I think there's some other stuff, other like creams and things you can mix into it. I haven't really looked into the rest of the kit yet. So there you can kind of see how I've just made it in a big circle on the page. And then once it's dry, I'm going to start putting my gelato colors on there. And I start with this gold. There's gold, kind of an orangey yellow, and a pink that come in this kit. I'm just spraying some water on it and using my brush to kind of mix it around. And then I try pre-spraying some spots. So some of it I'm pre-spraying with water and then putting the gelatos down, and some of it I'm putting the gelatos straight down without any water first. And so I'm spraying that, just kind of seeing, how the gelatos move on the page, and how it's going to work, and till I get something that I like. And so it really, at first I wasn't liking it all that well until I added the pink, and the pink is really, kind of what makes it. And I'm also wasn't liking, it wasn't getting as enough of a watercolor effect, so I started using just a plastic bag to kind of smash it down and move some of that water around. And then I decide to dry it so that the colors don't muddy together too much. So I just kind of use my heat tool and dry up what I've already got, and then I'll keep going around my circular area. And so I'm also going to try just coloring the gelato right onto the bag and spraying the water on that. And then I use my brush a little bit, and then I just kind of smash it down on the page. And I used too much water there, so I didn't get a lot of pigment. So I go use a little bit less water and more pigment, and then that works a lot better. So I was getting a little bit too much water on there. And so I'm just putting some pink and some gold, a little bit of spritzing, and then pushing it down. And you can see the gold pigment didn't, it's kind of speckly. I didn't get it like mixed up or, made into a cream very much, but it looks really pretty on the page because it gives a really gold sparkle in a few areas. So I wasn't too concerned about it. I kind of liked the look of it. And so I liked what was there, so I decided to go ahead and dry it. And then I think I'll play with it just a little bit more. I wanted a little bit more pink in a few areas. I used my finger. I just tried a bunch of different things until, I started getting something I liked. And then I was starting to run out of water in my little sprayer, so I figured by that time then I must be done. I ran out of water. So that is going to be my background. And, it kind of looks like a mess there, but once I put all the embellishments and stuff on there, I know it's going to push that whole background back into the background. So, don't be too concerned if you don't think it looks awesome at first. Once you start putting the other things on, it just becomes part of the whole. So I really like this, and I like the color kind of radiating out from behind. And so I'm going to use this new crepe paper notes and things collection that I got, and I want to start using new things that I buy right away while I'm really excited about them. I'm not hoarding them. I'm going to just use them up. So I have these rub-ons from the collection, and I use up almost the whole page. There were a few items I just didn't seem to go with the page and I didn't use, but I was really thinking about, keeping in mind using up the whole page. So I kind of look at where my wreath is going to fall, and then I start putting the rub-ons down. I wasn't sure how they'd go over all this gesso and gelatos and stuff, but they went down really well. These ones were pretty sticky, so I go ahead. I have this other circle item, and at first I set it there, but it was too diagonal from the other one, so I kind of moved it down a little bit because I didn't want it to be exactly across from the other one. And so I stick that one down, and I want a few to be poking out on the outside of the wreath, and I want a few of them to be toward the inside of the wreath. So I'll place them in both areas. And I'm kind of thinking of 3 cluster points at this time. I've got the one on the upper left, one on the bottom right, and then this cluster that I'm starting here kind of on the upper right. So I don't stick to that, real tight or anything, I just kind of use that as a guideline to get started, and then I go with what I think looks nice. So, but it gives you a good jumping off point when you think about, doing 3 clusters or. So I'm putting those which will show up kind of on the inside of the wreath. And then I break up some of the lines and overlap some of my rub-ons. So I think it just is more cohesive if some of them kind of overlap each other. And so I'm liking how that's looking, and I want to make sure I get something to the inside of that cluster. And I've got the Our Journey to the inside of that upper cluster, so I want to put something toward the inside of that bottom right cluster, so I'll put something in there too. I've got these arrows that once your eye enters the page will help direct it down and around the wreath. So I put this one on the inside of that cluster, and I continue that arrow kind of going around, so it goes down and around and to the right and then back up. So those are the few pieces, and I think about putting them in, but I just really didn't need them. So I've got one sheet and a few little pieces left from that package. So I'm really liking how that's looking. And the wreath is what just kind of ties it all together. And so I have these chipboard stickers from the Notes and Things collection as well. So I put the flowers toward the bottom, and what's nice is that this collection has the kind of peachy pink, it has the gold, and it has the black. So it really worked well with these gelatos and the embossing powder. And then I have the sticker sheet, so I'm looking through that as well. And I love that sentiment. It really matches the color of the gelatos. And I'm just, you know, kind of keeping them in the clusters. You can see my upper right and bottom right clusters are kind of starting to spill together, but I still really like how it looks, and I want it to be full. And I'm kind of done with what's going to be under the wreath, and so the other items will probably be above the wreath. So I decide to go ahead and mount this on the paper so that I can, you know, hot glue the wreath down. And I'm using a piece of paper from the Notes and Things collection as well, this kind of peachy pink with white polka dots paper. So I'm really liking that, and I'm deciding where my frame is going to go. It's either going to go right there, but I kind of had gotten a lot of embellishments to that corner, so I wind up putting it over on the other side where there's not quite as many embellishments. So I just have this picture of me and my hubby, and then I use hot glue to put the wreath down, and I'm not in too much of a hurry to tack it down because I want the glue to dry a little bit so that it gives me a little bit of lift. And I also don't press it down really hard either. So it's kind of like it's on Pop Dots because, you know, the glue dried just a little bit before I pressed it down. And then I'm going to put the photo over the top of the frame. So I'm putting Pop Dots on the other areas. And then I'll use a little bit of hot glue on the wreath there to hold it on. So there's the picture, and then I'll have a few other items that will go over the top of the wreath to really tie everything together, you know, going over and under that element. So I've got this little pink arrow that kind of breaks up those black chevrons and yet mimics it. And then I had this little ribbon that I wanted to put on there, and I thought about, I kind of wished I hadn't put that other sticker behind it because they're so much alike, but at that point I couldn't really pull it up. So, you know, I just kind of go with it and layer that one over it. And then on my desk I still have these American Craft bows. I think I've used them on the last two layouts I did too, but I haven't used them up yet, so I get another one of them placed on here. And then also these same kind of rubbery, they're KI memories, and they're called softies, and they're kind of rubberized embellishments. So I get 3 more of those put on there. I think I've used those on the last layout as well, but I still have a few more left. And then I go back to the crepe paper stickers. I put a date sticker underneath the photo. And then I have a lot of sequins because I subscribe to the Scraptastic this Life Noted kit, and we always get a bag of sequins, so I'm kind of drowning in sequins. And so I thought, you know what, instead of using ink splatters, I'm going to pull out a bunch of these sequins. And I still had a little bit of trouble with them being staticky and everything, but not as bad as the last time I used them. And I had a lot of colors that would really work with this. I didn't have any gold ones though, so I pull out pinks and peaches and oranges and yellows, and then I also find a few black ones as well. And I decide to go ahead and try using my hot glue to put the sequins down, because I'm just always afraid that the glossy accents isn't going to hold it and stuff. And so I thought, you know what, I'll give it a try. I wasn't sure if the hot glue would like melt, because my hot glue gun is very hot. I mean, it like it's smoking hot. And it's very painful if you get hot glue on you. But so I go ahead and I use it, and it works really well. The only problem is that you get all those little tiny glue strands. So you'll see I just kind of, after I'm done, I go back and I take a paintbrush and just kind of brush away all those extra little glue strands. But it works really well to put them down, and they're really sturdy on there, and they're instantly dry. So I think that's how I'm going to put sequins on from now on. So I'm just kind of dotting those all around. I'm using one black sequin in each of my 3 kind of cluster areas that I started out with. And I go through and sorry, I got interrupted there, so I hope my audio still works out. So anyhow, I finished putting these sequins on, and I think that's about all I put on this, except for I needed something to put on top of that ribbon there instead of just that white space. So I go back to the collection and I look through, and there's this one sticker that has a cute little saying on it, but it's just a little bit too big to fit on that. So I grabbed this Dear Lizzie sticker book, and that I've used some of, but I still have quite a few left. Stick a few flowers from there on it, and then I find this little gold heart and then another pink heart that says kiss on it. And since my hubby's given me a kiss, that works really well. And then I think that is all I put on the layout. I do take my paintbrush here, and I'm just picking up all the glue strands from putting down those sequins and other things. And because those things just are annoying. So I go around and pull all those off. And I'm really liking the layout. You know, I like being inspired by a product, and I like being able to, you know, take a new kit and be able to just play with it and hoard my items right there on my layout. And so this is how it turned out. I'm going to do a few little close-ups. And it says 1000 goodnight kisses. Okay, so sorry, I got interrupted again. Here is my finished layout. And I really love how it turned out, and I love, love, love the colors and stuff, and it's just really pretty. I want to hang this one up on the wall and just enjoy it. And yeah, so there's my finished layout. If you have any questions or anything, just leave me a comment below. And thank you so much for watching, and I'll talk to you guys later. Bye.